If you're watching this video, then chances are you have made it halfway through writing your novel. Congratulations! No, seriously, this is the part where I would usually say, but it only gets tougher from here. But in my experience and opinion, I think things are actually about to hopefully get easier for you. To me, writing a novel really is a lot like climbing a mountain, but not a real one, a cartoon one, because in our case, once you get to the summit, you can actually just slide down the rest of the way. The summit, of course, being the midpoint. And I think that's because the second half of your novel is where all the setup that you've done in the first half finally pays off and things resolve. So the hardest part should be over. But of course, not until you write the midpoint of the novel, which is what we're going to be talking about today. Hi everyone, I'm Deanna and I'm trying to scribble my way to becoming a traditionally published author. Before we start on today's topic in earnest, just a reminder that if you're interested in how my novel writing's going, I've documented almost the entirety of my writing process for my current post-apocalyptic fantasy novel in vlogs on my channel, so if you're interested in that, do check it out. I'm currently actually going through beta reader feedback, and so far it's been really lovely, kind of emotional because the feedback has been really good, but I'm about to go through it in earnest when I come back from my holiday, which is where I am right now. This is a pre-recorded video. All videos are pre-recorded, you know what I mean. But yeah, if you're interested in seeing me go through how I approach those beta edits and then also the querying process that we're going to get into afterwards, then subscribe and come along for the ride. Also, if you don't know, this video is weeks 25 to 28 on my How to Write a Novel for Beginners in a Year series, but whether you're going through that series or you're just looking for a standalone video on how to write the midpoint of your novel, you're in the right place. Hello, Nix. And as always, just a final reminder that this series is for absolute beginners, like first-time writers writing a novel, but I will sprinkle in some tips for more advanced writers and writers looking to traditionally publish as well, as always. Anyway, with all that said, let's get into the midpoint. So, in case this is an unfamiliar bit of jargon, just very quickly, the midpoint of the novel is the second of the three climaxes that every novel has, following the inciting incident, which is the first climax, and before the climax in the third act, or the fifth act, or however you want to structure your plot. It's also personally one of my favorite sections of the novel to write, and that's because it's sometimes called the hinge in the plot, because most of the time it's basically the part of the novel where the plot, the story, the characters actually end up going in a totally different direction to what the reader was expecting, and I just really love that turning point when it happens. You know, there's a reason why in the 8-point story arc plot structure, the midpoint is actually called the surprise. Obviously though, it's important to make sure that the midpoint is surprising in a way that still makes sense and isn't just subverting expectations for the sake of shocking the reader. Yes, I am still bitter about the TV version of Game of Thrones. Why do you ask? But no, instead what the midpoint aims to do is make the reader slap their face and go, of course, why didn't I see this coming? The clues were all there. So if you want that hinge in your midpoint to really close on your reader like a steel trap coming down, let's look at what every midpoint should do in order to achieve that. So the first thing that your midpoint needs to do is it needs to recontextualize everything that came before it. This is kind of part of the surprise aspect of it. You basically want to have something in the midpoint that reveals a piece of information or changes the main character's worldview in a way that makes them realize that what they've known or been doing so far has been wrong. For instance, maybe they find out that someone they truly trusted has actually been betraying them to the enemy the whole time, you know, something like that. Or they realize that the whole time they've been working towards a goal, they've actually been helping the antagonist by trying to reach that goal and not been saving everyone like they thought. Again, maybe based off faulty information or something. Next. Stop typing all over my script. 555 RRR. Thank you, that's very insightful. Or, you know, another good one is if you think about stories about fairies or aliens, maybe the midpoint is where you find out that the protagonist this whole time has thought that they were hostile, and actually in the midpoint they realize, no, they're not hostile, they are trying to save humanity or trying to warn them about a worse threat or something like that. And this really is the expectation subversion aspect of it. You basically want your reader to be like, oh my god, that's crazy that me and the characters have been wrong about this thing, and now we know the truth. Point 2 is similar but looking forward. The midpoint also recontextualizes everything that we expected to come in the rest of the novel. So it recontextualizes what has happened and it recontextualizes our expectations of the future of the plot. too. And that directly affects obviously the nature of the climax or the final obstacle of the plot, and also often the theme, but we'll come to that in a second, not to jump ahead. But again, it's kind of what I talked about. You want this to be a change or a piece of information that not only changes what's come before, but ripples out into the future and makes the reader and the protagonist both have to think like, okay, now that we have this piece of information, we have to change all our plans, we have to completely alter our thinking and our approach to the antagonist or the problem and figure out how we're going to go forward after our view of this new world has been totally shifted or possibly even destroyed. And both of those points feed into point 3, which is that the midpoint is where the main character turns from the lie to the truth. If you've watched my planning video or plenty of other videos about how to create compelling characters, you will know that a lot of the time you want, at the very least, your protagonist to be wrong about something, to believe in a lie that then gets revealed to them as a lie, and then they end up turning towards the truth. And that can be accepting or rejecting that truth, but they end up finding out that one of their fundamental beliefs were basically wrong. And I think you can see how that meshes together with the recontextualizations of the past and the future. But of course, the important thing that you need to note in this case is that your protagonist actually does have to believe that lie to begin with. You need to have your protagonist be wrong about something in order to have an effective midpoint. And I will say, I think that is the part that I definitely struggle with the most, and I'm sure plenty of other beginner writers struggle with the most too, is you want your protagonist to be likable, you want them to be effective and active and all these things. So having them be wrong about something and having to have them go through this journey of realizing they're wrong and turning towards the truth or turning away from the truth willingly can feel difficult, because you can, feel worried that, oh, but if they're not kind of perfect enough or smart enough or whatever, then maybe the reader will turn against them. So it's really important to remember that yes, for a good midpoint, they do have to be wrong. Sometimes they have to be kind of insufferable about being wrong too. Sometimes they have to believe or buy into the lies that their society tells them or whatever it is. Sometimes they have to be cowards. They basically have to have a negative aspect to them in order for them to be able to turn in this moment towards the truth, towards the positive. Or if you're having them do a heel turn and it's kind of a negative descending arc where they actually get worse, not better, and become more of a villain, then you want them to have that clear moment of choosing to reject the truth even when it's right in their face and they realize it's the truth but decide they either don't care, don't want to hear it, they're too entrenched in the lie, whatever it is. Thing number 4 to remember about the midpoint is that, like I said, it's supposed to be the summit of the mountain that is your novel, and therefore it needs to have a great centerpiece or set piece scene. This looks very, very different depending on your genre. As always, I will remind you throughout all these videos how important it is for you to know your genre, to know the conventions of it, so that you can go outside of them or play around with them as you see fit. But obviously you can't play around with something unless you know it very well. So you need to kind of have an understanding of what is the typical expectation of a set piece for your midpoint in your genre, and then decide if that's right for you and how you're going to make it your own. I say this because just the same as with the climax or even the inciting incident, just because this has to be the huge middle scene, the hinge scene in your novel, it doesn't mean it has to be loud. It doesn't have to be a gunfight. It doesn't have to be a robbery. It doesn't have to be something where a bunch of people die, like a huge battle or a war. All those things are fine as midpoints if they suit your genre, if you're writing a fantasy, if you're writing a spy thriller, whatever it is. But obviously in quieter, more literary novels, maybe your midpoint is like an argument, like a really big argument between the protagonist and someone, like their best friend, or maybe even the antagonist. Maybe it's something really simple but like devastating on a human level, like your protagonist finding out they didn't get the job they wanted or the university placement they wanted or something. But the point is it is one of the 3 climaxes, so it should be one of the biggest events in the novel, probably the second biggest after the climax itself. Maybe third if you count All Is Lost and kind of wanting to have that massive loss towards the end of the novel too, which we will come to in a different video in future, don't you worry. But yeah, make it big, make it flashy, whatever that means for your genre and style of book. Make it eye-catching, make it interesting to the senses. I was going to say make it involve a bunch of people, but really that's not necessary at all. Just make sure that it's a scene that is visually and emotionally engaging, basically, is the main takeaway here. The 5th thing that's important to remember is that the midpoint is where your protagonist goes from being reactive to being active in the plot. So I'm going to use the Hunger Games here because I think it's one of the clearest examples of this. And also, I've used it throughout all my other videos for how to write a book for beginners. And I think it's either quite well known in general, or you can look it up quite easily. But pretty much the midpoint is when Katniss is stuck up in a tree with the careers below her threatening to kill kill her, and she ends up dropping a nest of trachojects, the waspy things. She ends up basically dropping a wasp nest on them. I know in the film, Rue points it out to her. I can't remember if that happens in the books, but regardless, the point is that up until then, Katniss had the main active thing she had done had been volunteering as tribute, which was obviously the inciting incident, the first big climax of the novel. And from then until this moment, she had mostly been running, hiding, just trying to survive, basically staying passive in the fun and games section of the novel. And here she finally starts to attack back, fight back, and realizes she actually is going to have to kill some people to survive this ordeal. And that's the kind of change that you want. Obviously, your protagonist shouldn't be completely passive up until this point in your novel at all, but they should be more in kind of learning mode, absorbing mode, because they've been thrust into this new world as a result of the inciting incident. They're trying to take it all in, maybe play around with it a bit, but not get too involved. A lot of the time, they're getting dragged from place to place by other characters in this section, in the fun and game section, you know. But this is where they are finally forced into a scenario where they have to make a choice to act and do something and become active. And obviously, if you're a beginner writer, you're going to want to have your main character make the choice to become active in this sense. You can have them choose to continue to be passive. I feel like that is a difficult thing to write and a bit of a slippery slope if this is your first novel. Try it this way if you're writing your first novel, is what I always say to people. Try it like following the traditional plot flow the first time round just to get a sense for it. And then your next time round with your next book, you can break the rules a lot more once you know why the original recommended plot flow and plot structure is considered like the gold standard, you know. Thing number 6 to keep in mind with the midpoint, I touched on very briefly earlier. It is basically, this is the part of the novel where the theme often becomes clear. So, you know, Hunger Games example, for instance, you finally get that sense that in this society with the Capitol in charge, in the Hunger Games, even someone like Katniss, who doesn't really want to hurt anyone, who just wanted to protect her sister, is forced into situations where she has to enact violence on other children, on other underprivileged people, and basically has to play the Capitol's sick game. And obviously that is very much a theme of the novel, the powerlessness of regular people against this regime until they rise up and decide to put their lives on the line in order to overthrow it. And the loss of innocence aspect is obviously there as well. And that's what you really want. Aside from the event or the scene that is your midpoint being flashy and memorable and engaging for the senses and emotions, you want it to really hammer home the theme of your novel, what you're trying to say with your story. If the theme of your novel is about, I have Game of Thrones on the mind, so I was like, if it's about choosing between love and duty, for instance, you basically would want a scene where your protagonist is forced to choose, like, are they going to keep a promise or are they going to do something to save the person they love? Just as an example. And say your theme is that love trumps over duty. That doesn't mean that in this scenario they have to choose love. It just means that if they do choose duty, you would then show how the world and the plot punishes them for it, or like things go really badly for them, or they regret it, or whatever it is. But yeah, it is the hinge. You can also call it the linchpin in this case of what your novel is trying to say. And again, with the way that the midpoint influences the climax directly, it should kind of set up that resolution, which is in fact point number 7. The midpoint should lay the groundwork for the outcome of the climax and for the whole novel, whether that's positive or negative. There should kind of almost be a seed of the final outcome in each of your climaxes, is kind of how I like to think about it. I think that really creates that sense of inevitability while combining it with that feeling of surprise at the same time. And again, that doesn't mean that you need to have a midpoint and a climax that have the exact same outcome, but just on bigger scales or anything. In fact, that's probably not a good idea to do because it can get kind of repetitive and feel a bit boring if you do a similar thing twice. But what it does sometimes mean is that the mistakes or actions of the midpoint basically come back to haunt the main character in the climax. So again, going back to that love and duty example, say for instance, your main character is basically faced with a similar choice to Robb Stark in Game of Thrones, where they have to choose between marrying the person they love and who they've gotten pregnant versus marrying the daughter of a liege lord who's giving them a bunch of troops. And they choose to marry the person they love instead. That means that in the climax, what you would want to see is you want to see the echo of that choice, basically the lack of troops from that liege lord, leading to the battle ending in the main character losing, or maybe losing someone they love because they didn't have enough protection, maybe even losing that person they loved that they married. Obviously, in this case, the theme of your novel would therefore be that duty should trump over love, because when you just follow your feelings instead of your obligations, you end up losing both your honor and the people that you love, which is depressing, but hey, it's your novel, or, you know, my hypothetical novel that I basically just pulled from a Game of Thrones plotline. But you can see then how you can kind of construct that almost echo of the climax in the midpoint. And, you know, the idea of history repeating itself being, or sometimes changed to history rarely repeats itself, but it often rhymes. That's kind of the effect that you want to create with your midpoint and your climax, and your inciting incident, of course, too, if you can manage that. And the last point, point number 8, for things that you need to consider while writing your midpoint, is that the midpoint is a symbolic death or end of the world. Because a lot of the time, once the main characters find out the information that constitutes the surprise of the midpoint, the thing that recontextualizes everything, they can never look at the world the same way again, or the people in their lives the same way again. And it almost feels like that previous world that they believed in, those previous people they believed in, have died. And of course, a lot of the time, the midpoint is a literal physical death of a person, or the literal physical destruction of a place, for that exact reason. It kind of thematically goes with that sense that there is a before and after, everything has changed in this moment, and the protagonist can no longer look at things the same way. So make sure you think about that when you're writing your midpoint, especially when it comes to writing the reactions of characters to this. A lot of the time, the surprise is obviously not going to be pleasant, because having an unpleasant surprise, it drives the plot a lot better, which means you need to think about how your characters are going to react to this and how their worldviews are going to change as a result, depending on their personality. And that's everything that you need to know about writing a midpoint that will truly surprise your reader, while still feeling satisfying and grounded in the world. As always, if you found this video helpful, please consider liking and subscribing, especially so you don't miss the next video in the series. And that will probably be either a bonus video on how to write pinch points, because a lot of plot structures have them kind of scattered throughout, or maybe we will move on to the moment that all readers truly dread, the moment where all is lost. Also, if you have any questions about writing or planning a novel that I haven't touched on here, please do take a look at the full playlist down below for my series on how to write a novel for beginners in a year. Or if you have any thoughts about the midpoint that I missed, or questions about any other aspect of writing a novel that I haven't covered in my videos yet, just leave me a comment down below and maybe I'll make a video for you. But aside from that, I'm about to jump back into regular vlogging of me editing my post-apocalyptic fantasy novel. There is one more pre-recorded video coming your way next week though, about 10 tips for neurodivergent and chronically ill writers, which I am one of, so hopefully you'll enjoy that. And then I'll be back from my holiday, most likely with a stream, probably some writing sprints, maybe a bit of gaming. We'll kind of see where the evening takes us on that Monday. And then yeah, after that we'll be hopefully getting into all my beta reader feedback properly and implementing it in a new draft. Otherwise though, as always, I hope you're having a wonderful time of day. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope I'll see you next time. Bye!